Hello everyone. As part of an attempt to assist new players or even long-time players looking to learn more, I've decided it would be a good chance to dissect elements from recent operations and turn them into examples of field leadership that you can use to adapt and overcome situations you will encounter as you take more demanding roles at weekend ops. Leadership is a very complicated thing to teach. Whilst I plan on creating a more generic Leadership 101 video, this operation was fairly recent, and so I felt it more appropriate to sit down and do this one now, with the intention of coming back to the more overall lessons in a later installment. As I record more field leadership examples, I will develop them into short 10 to 20 minute lessons. The intention is not for you to outright copy the actions shown, but to use them as a basis of learning, so that you can understand the appropriate steps to correct an error or overcome an obstacle. These aren't going to be perfect examples because we do not demand perfection. We want people to have fun. That said, there are key steps along the way that so long as you handle them correctly and in the correct time frame, you will alleviate the issue in front of you, and it will help you to adapt and overcome to the next situation even faster. Today's topic is a very specific but also highly common one. You are a fire team leader, the lowest leadership position in the platoon, and your squad leader is either dead or dying. You are taking fire, there are wounded, and you need to step up and take control of a situation before it develops and worsens. In today's example, I am the fire team leader for 4-2 under Volk leading 4-0 or 4 actual. The other fire team, 4-1, is being led by Cosmic. Teams within Squad 4 are 4 men each, both of which are machine gun teams, with the actual squad consisting of only the squad leader and the squad corpsman. This operation was a company-sized joint op with HCOY, meaning there were a significant number of moving pieces on the map the company command had to be aware of. However, it did offer some lessons on the difference between platoon and company-level operations that we'll cover at the end of the video. Our first lesson of note is not something you will think of at the moment, but it is important to note after the fact. As Squad 4 is moving along our waypoints, we are aware of another squad taking autocannon fire from down the hill towards the airfield. This is fine. The objective is to assault the airfield. The oncoming fire is worrying, but it's not been aimed at us yet, and so we continue movement. However, as two machine gun teams hampered by stamina, the movement becomes sluggish and spread out, which ultimately saved us, as you'll see. As 4-1 draw the ire of the autocannon, the fire is redirected towards Squad 4 in its entirety. Our position is not great, but it at least offers some protection. The issue is when Joe, the 4-2 machine gunner, asks aloud where his AAR is.
Just hold here for a second, 4-2. Hold on.
Where's Tom?
Where's Kennedy?
Where is Tom?
Knowing that the AAR in my fire team, Tom, is not with us, there are two possibilities. He is wandering in the wrong direction, or he has been hit on the move and he is now in the open field behind us, bleeding out. I am also by this point acutely aware that our squad leader Volk has not raised concerns over the incoming fire, and I cannot hear our medic Water Plant shouting triage orders. As a player, you will come to learn that people are good at certain things, and I know Water Plant is a good medic. She would not be silent in this situation if she wasn't also either away from us, which she is not, or unconscious herself. It will be common for you to think of this moment as some kind of failure, particularly a missing fire team member. It is not. You cannot baby or micromanage individuals to keep them out of harm's way every time. Tom falling behind is not a failure of mine, and it won't be a failure of yours unless you fail to immediately begin procedures to correct the situation. Our next step is corrective measures. In this situation, this means getting the wounded out of the open and beginning to treat them immediately. I am unsure at this point if Water Plant is down, but upon finding the wounded and realizing she is made priority for stabilization. Throw smoke grenades. You will hear people say things like the AI cheats or that they can see through objects, but this is entirely false. The AI in Arma, for all the jokes we make, is a highly sophisticated series of systems all working in tandem to create a facsimile of combat. Throwing smokes does obfuscate AI vision, and it will throw off their aim. To attempt this rescue without it is asking for the entire team to be shot a second time. With Water Plant down, she becomes patient priority 1. If she can wake up everyone else. As things develop, this becomes not the case, and she is eventually revived by another team's medic, but this is still the correct maneuver. At this level of operation, there are enough squads able to fill the gap that Squad 4 being combat ineffective is not going to bring down the entire operation in either speed or effectiveness. And also, I have to keep in mind at this point what our return for wounded is like. If water plant dies here, how long will squad 4 be without her until she returns to the field?
I need people to help me get water plant stable right now.
So the lesson is, get your wounded out of the lane of fire as fast as possible and prioritize your medic or other priority specialist units if you have one. As you'll see soon, I do eventually deal with the problem of needing the squad leader radio, but I want to mention here, this is not always your first priority. It takes time to find their body, acquire their radio, and appropriately bring platoon or company command up to date on the situation. In this moment, I am not thinking of company command or the overall operation. I am concerning myself with my fire team, which is now entirely down bar one person, and the squad leader and medic, who are vital parts of the overall operation. At this time, I am still thinking like an FTL, but I am keenly aware that Squad 4 is entirely cut off in terms of communication and support, with our squad leader down and unable to report details higher up the chain. With people treating the wounded, thoughts now turn to the squad leader. In the confusion, no one had managed to notice Volk lying in the field behind us, and this is what likely led to his untimely death. But in hindsight, I believed he was being treated, and so I don't think I would have done anything differently. Knowing now that the wounded are being seen to, it's time to get the radio. Whilst in a typical chain of command, I would expect the first fire team to do so, I simply happen to be the FTL willing and on scene to do so at the time. Cosmic is a highly capable person, and he could have done the same thing, I just happened to do it first. In these situations, it is less about hierarchy and more about speed. The key elements now are to get the radio, inform company command, and request support.
4-2 to CO, 4-2 to CO.
Go.
4 section is mass cas, repeat, we need medical and support.
We could go over radio protocol, but that's a video for another time. The important statements to make to command are combat ineffective and mass cas for mass casualties. We all know what this means. If you say these things, you are telling people we are not moving from the spot, we are not taking objectives, and we may as well not exist in relation to the wider operation. At this point, yes, I am effectively the squad leader. This is a key role for FTLs to be aware of. There will come a time when you become the one in charge, and you are suddenly both leading an entire squad, reporting to higher command, and also leading your fire team and maneuvers. It is a facet of the role you will need to get used to, and shirking it is a deadly game to play. Plenty of FTLs in the past have pretended to not hear calls for them to step up, but be aware, doing so deliberately is perhaps one of the stupidest things you can do. In game terms, you will isolate your fire team and overall squad from support elements, and outside the game, you may see us place restrictions on your ability to play those roles in the future. If you pick FTL, we expect you to operate within that role effectively. At this point, most of the squad is up, and in theory, we could begin maneuvers again to achieve objectives. However, there are elements out of our control that lead me to decide to wait until at least our unconscious members are awake. One is distance to travel. We had significant length to run, compounded by the weight of our machine gunners. If we tried to do so carrying unconscious individuals, we would have moved at a snail's pace. Second was that another squad had stepped up to fill our role, and we were now a blocking force. One that I reasoned in the moment was not immediately necessary, given the time we had to travel.
Yeah, that's why we're not like, that's why we're
Finally,
committed to the assault until
I knew our squad leader was being airlifted to LZ Sparkles to our north and would be with us soon. So I made the decision first to wait out the revive on wounded members. This allowed us to begin moving to a whole position ahead, where we waited for our squad leader to return to the field and resume command. My final act as the temporary squad leader: make sure Volk gets back his radio. At this point, I resumed normal duties, and the operation continued apace. So, let's break down what happened over the course of this 15-minute engagement. 1. The squad took fire from the airfield, and it was apparent almost immediately that some people were likely wounded. We threw smoke to cover the wounded being pulled out of the lane of fire, and I prioritized the medic for triage. She was critical to keeping people alive, and if we had been faster, we may have even woken her up with an intervention by another medic, meaning we may have saved our squad leader. With the wounded seen to, an FTL must step up. Some minor errors in thinking at the time meant our SL had been bleeding out longer than he should have, but ultimately, you cannot worry about those things in the moment. You cannot go back in time to unfuck a situation, only adapt to the one you are given. So I seek out and take the 152 radio and assume the position of squad leader temporarily. It's done, I declare squad 4 combat ineffective. 4-2 is heavily wounded, and our command element consisting of our SL and medic are completely down. 4-1 may be up, but they are busy stabilizing wounded themselves. No one in squad 4 is going anywhere. This is what brought the other squad's medic, Bubbus, to our position. Had I not grabbed the radio, we likely would have waited longer and lost more. As our own medic returned to us and Volk was confirmed KIA, I knew our role in the assault was over. We could not be part of it. we needed to bring ourselves back to 100% for the next objective, which is why I waited out the revives on still wounded members of the squad. Once done, we moved to a hold position, waited for Volk to return to us, and I passed the command of Squad 4 back to him. This all occurred over a roughly 15-minute moment in a waiter, several-hour operation. What I'm hoping people pull away from this video is a reliance on speed and effective orders. It is important, as an FTL, that when something happens like this, you immediately correct the situation. Squad leaders also have their own worries to take into account that are very similar to this, but as an FTL, this is probably the worst case scenario. There will be moments where you are given some of your own initiative to take objectives, or perhaps you are split from the other fire team because you are working at longer ranges, or perhaps you are a stationary mobile anti-tank unit. You get the idea. However, this is definitely the worst case scenario. Our squad leader went down, I stepped up, and I tried to correct the situation by giving out effective orders. Thankfully, Squad 4 is made up of highly competent and long-standing members of Combined Arms, bar a few. And even the people who weren't long-standing members handled their situation very well. The one thing that you may notice after an event like this is that some people may worry that there was a lot of sitting around, that there was a lot of downtime caused by it, that they missed out on an objective. And it can be easy after an operation to think that perhaps you could have given better orders that made people have more fun. But you also have to take into account that of the 4 people in Squad 4 who were down, had we chosen to ignore the situation or go into things half-cocked, many of them would have died, waited out a respawn, been airlifted in, and it would have taken longer than this itself. This is a dynamic, player-driven moment that you could only get in Arma 3. The more you lean into these moments, the better time you will have in a leadership position. Anyway, this has been a very short 15 to 20 minute video on Fireteam leading using a real live example. If anyone found this useful, please let me know. If you have any questions about situations you would like explained, or would like me to go into something more specific, also let me know, and I will attempt to cover it in a later installment. As always, I'll be adding this video to the Combined Arms 101 playlist on YouTube, which currently consists of not only our radio video, but will consist of all our leadership position videos. Anyway, I hope to see everyone at the next event, and if you're in my squad, and you are under me as a fireteam leader or a squad leader, know that these are the steps I will take should anything happen to you, and if the roles are reversed, I would hope you would learn from this to do the same. Thank you very much.